Welcome back to another hot, piping hot episode of The Retirement Chef, Whipping Up Wealth with Brian Butler, the CEO and Senior Wealth Advisor for Wealth Standard Financial in big Houston, Texas. Brian, we're recording on a Monday, but I see you smiling, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Mondays are always the great day for me because it's an optimistic day. Because all the things that you plan to do for the week, you think you're going to accomplish them all. So on Mondays, that's how I feel.
We haven't missed any appointments. We're towing right into that. So look, because I said Monday, I need to share a couple of retirement jokes that Jessica and our team here shared with us, and I like these. So here we go. What do you call a person that's happy on Monday? Besides Brian Butler, of course. What do you call a person happy on Monday, Brian?
That's a good one. No, what is it?
Retired.
There you go.
And then how many retirees does it take to change a light bulb?
None.
Okay, your answer's none. You're only one off. It's one, but it'll take all day. Okay.
Well, that's the great thing about retirement. Every day's the weekend.
That's it. Every day ends in Y, doesn't it? Okay, and now the last one here. And why do many retirees attend church?
Why is that?
They're cramming for their final exam. There you go. Love that. Good. Thanks for Jess sharing those with us. And Brian, another one here before we get in. We're going to talk about the RMD today, and that's not short for a recipe for mass destruction. It means something way better than that. We'll talk about RMDs in a second, but here at my workplace and outside of Atlanta, Georgia, it's our chili cook-off, all right? Mm-hmm. So I whipped together, and not because I'm vegan, but one of our coworkers is, and I wanted to make sure they could have something. There's going to be a lot of meat in that room, all right? We've got a vegan chili over here, and I have a feeling this season you have to have a good recipe for chili, Brian, or something thereabouts. I made cornbread too, so I'd love to hear your big fall recipes for chili and or cornbread.
No, we're a big chili person when it gets a little cooler outside, for sure. But in Texas, they have a big thing with chili. They have no beans in the chili.
Oh, so okay.
It's all meat. All meat and vegetables, just running it together. And it usually comes out really good. Now, I like it both ways. So the meat chili in Texas, I don't really think there's a way to make a Texas chili vegan. So it can be a chili. We can make a chili, but it just won't be vegan. I've done it before. So with a vegan chili, beans are your friend. Okay. They give you protein, they fill you up, and then the
one I whipped up's got like 4 different kinds in there. So yeah, we're set.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised. It will be good. So
I'm not surprised. I love it. So, but yeah, I'm sure now Texans that are listening are going, wait, this is heresy.
Right. Right.
All right. So a vegan one's got to have beans there. Oh, what else do you like in a Brian Butler chili?
So, you have your core. You have the tomatoes, you have the carrots, the celery, the onions, the spices, the broths. So once you get that and plus a really good meat in there, I love short ribs and ground beef. When you mix the two together, you get a little chunks of both and low and slow. So taking your time with it, letting those flavors develop, you're going to have a good chili.
I remember I got to help judge a chili contest a few years ago, and I'm a big fan of spicy food, all right? And I'm not a huge fan of eating a ton of meat either, so I was probably in the wrong place. And there was a chef that was helping judge, or somebody that was a chef for a living, not just a hobby. And when I started commenting, I love how spicy this is, they're like, don't give that a good grade. It is all spice. There's no taste in it. So where do you stand on the spice level with this stuff? Because I've evolved over the years and started to appreciate the other flavors besides killing hot.
Right. So spice should be used to complement rather than to overpower. So you'll see some of these chilies that just have tons of heat and that's all you get.
Yeah.
And what's the
5
point?
Alarm.
Yeah. I'm just like, what's the point? I want to enjoy it. I don't want to worry about it coming and going.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, take 2 bites of it and you're done. Yeah.
Yeah. When you get a nice amount of spice that complements the food, I think that's a good level. So, mid to mid-high, I can deal with. Anything over that is just pointless to me. Again, that's my taste.
That's your. Well, I was asking your taste. All right, so that's why we call him the retirement chef. We want to know what Brian thinks, and then I'm not going to get into the whole cornbread recipe. We do have RMDs to talk about, but are you a sweet kind of Southern style cornbread, or I cooked a Texas style cornbread that had cheese and jalapenos? Where are you on the cornbread scale, Brian?
I am more the traditional sweet.
Okay.
Yeah, I do like the jalapeno cornbread with cheese, but that's a every now and then. But my staple is the traditional Southern sweet cornbread.
I like that. That sounds great. Well, I made one of each today, again, because coworkers, spice or not. Now, those are not
going to be popular.
Vegan or gluten. I don't know. You can ask our other podcast host, Casey, who's listening, and she's like, there's no way he'll be popular. So, yeah, that's but we'll get into this now because from sugar and spice and everything nice now to RMDs. Last episode, we talked about what a 401k is, but this time, what is an RMD? And we're reaching the end of the year where there are some deadlines for people that have to start playing into that. So can you explain what it is and then some of the different levers and trap doors, if you will? Might be a trap door if someone's not planning for it.
Absolutely. So an RMD is a required minimum distribution that you must take from your retirement accounts, most of your retirement accounts. So if you have traditional IRAs, if you have 401ks that are still with the employer, and you're over the age of 73. Now, that age moves year to year, but right now, the age of 73 is the target. Once you're over that, the IRS forces you to take out a certain percentage of your required minimum distribution. Now, if you are one of those fortunate people that don't necessarily need that much money from your retirement accounts, the RMD can be a pain sometimes because you want that money to stay in that tax deferred vehicle and keep growing. And so traditional IRAs, traditional 401ks have required minimum distributions because the IRS has not had the ability to tax that money the whole time you had it in that IRA or 401k. So they want their piece year by year. So every year that you live over 73, that RMD gets a little bit higher. And so what we want to do is plan as far ahead as we can. So there are some things that you can do. You can do what they call a Roth conversion. So you can convert a percentage of your traditional IRA every year to a Roth. And once it's in the Roth, now those funds become, and the growth become tax free. So playing the tax strategy, seeing how much every year that you want to take out and convert, because every year it's going to raise your taxable income. So potentially raise your Social Security being taxed. So that's why all of these things sort of like a domino. We need to plan for them so that way you're not getting some huge tax bill every year and then it defeats the purpose. So RMD planning is something that we definitely want to do. So another way to look at your RMDs, required minimum distributions, is many people in these scenarios want to donate to charity. So when you donate to charity, there's something called a charitable remainder trust that you can set up. So you can take some of your traditional IRA or 401k and donate it to a charity tax-free.
Is that what the QCD is, the qualified charitable distribution?
That is.
So it actually goes into a trust. Does it go right to a charity? I've not heard of the trust before. So you make options. A QC. Okay.
You can do the QCD that goes directly to the charity, so qualified charitable distribution, or you can set up a charitable remainder trust that can keep working and divvy those funds out to a charity based on your wishes. So these are just the tip of the iceberg of tax strategies that you can look at. So you can complement what you're doing from these RMDs with long-term care planning, kids planning for college. There are a lot of different planning vehicles that you can do to manage the tax bill, but it's going to make you take these required minimum distributions every year. And you have to do it before December 31st of every year. If you don't, you get a huge excise tax from the government. It's one of the most punitive taxes in the tax code.
Isn't it something like 25% or so? It's some ridiculous number.
It is 25%. It used to be 50%. Oh. So now they gave you a little bit of a break, but they're still going to hit you over the head with it. So you really need to do some planning so that way you can see, okay, this is where my money's going. I'm forced to take it out. So let me do some good with it, make sure I get as much of my money as possible.
Wow, well, that's a lot of stuff to consider. So, okay, somebody, their head is swimming with this stuff, and they're approaching, it's usually age 73, right, where this kicks in. They come to you and say, help. What do you tell them? Well, they get this free strategy session at wellstandardfinancial.com. And, of course, Well Standard Financial, you and your team are there to help. I'm sure you've had some people come in and just like going, what is an RMD? I didn't ask for this alphabet soup.
Absolutely. So what we do is simplify it. We'll give you a 1 to 2 page tax strategy plan based on your tax returns from the previous year. What we can do is run that plan, see where your RMDs are, see what other deductions that you had, and then give you some options on where we can plan for the future. That's all before we even talk about investment strategies and moving money. We just want to be of value to you. So if we do that, run that plan, it's going to give you some detailed instructions and actions that you can take, because everybody has access to tons of information. But what do you do with that information? We want to give you an action plan when you come to us so that way you have some clarity when you leave. We don't want to confuse you with more alphabet soup and more jargon, because who is that helping? We really want to help you understand what's important to you, what's not important, and then how you can piece it together.
The how, the why, when the penalties are, all of that. That's what you can get from that free strategy session at wellstandardfinancial.com. On a scale of 0 to, oh my God, on this big scale, how many people have either heard of, or better question, how many people or how often are people absolutely surprised by this RMD thing? Like they come in at age 59 or 63 or somewhere around retirement, and then you go, da-da-da-da-da. And remember, in 10 years, you have to.
Right.
Are people usually surprised?
So I wouldn't say that they're surprised. They're just angry.
Especially when they hear that 25 number, 25%.
That they always are like, I have to take it out. I just want it to keep growing. And so once you break it down, and many people understand, they understand that the government is going to get their money one way or another, but they don't have to like it. And so when we tell them some options that they can have to where, okay, you're going to pay those taxes, but we can try to get you some investment strategies or pay off some debt or put money to work for you so it gets back to work. And that's usually makes people a little bit more content when it comes to taking those funds out. But no one's ever happy that doesn't need the money. No one's ever happy when they have to take those RMDs.
Go figure, right? Yeah, go figure. But that's why listening to this episode and the one before it about what a 401k is are great to complement each other, and just finding out, which retirement plans you have actually bump up against that deadline. And so that's why it's important to check this out on Apple and Spotify. If you say your parents are going through this, your brother, your in-laws, well, okay, some people might not send it to their in-laws, but you should care about them too. Okay. No, you need to send that to them. Make sure they know about these podcasts and, of course, Well Standard Financial there in Houston. Brian, thanks for just letting us toe into the subject. And we know it's so much more intricate. So this isn't cookie cutter here. People all have different goals here, and that's why they need to get in touch with you.
Yeah, everybody's retirement recipe. That's what it really is, a great mix of tax strategy, estate, healthcare, things that are important to you. How are we going to design these strategies around you and what you're trying to accomplish? And so being able to bring all that together gives us a little bit of a unique positioning in the market, because that's what our focus. We love people. And so we want you to be a client for as long as possible. And by working with you, being a true partner, I think is why we've grown so much and why we focused on retirement, especially because it's a daunting task when it comes to figuring out what's the right thing. And so we just want to be that partner for you.
Make sure your pantry's stocked, in other words, for retirement there. Everybody, that's the Retirement Chef, Brian Butler, and you've been listening to the Retirement Chef, Whipping Up Wealth. Brian, of course, is CEO and Senior Wealth Advisor of Wealth Standard Financial. Brian, I hope you're having a great time there in Texas there, and we look forward to learning more from you soon.
Hey, see you next time.
Hey, we look forward to that. Thanks to our producer, Daniel Salerson, for putting this together. I'm Doug Turnbull. He's Brian Butler. Thank all of you for listening to the Retirement Chef, Whipping Up Wealth with Brian Butler. We'll have another episode coming your way here soon.
The opinions voiced in The Retirement Chef, Whipping Up Wealth with Brian Butler, are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss. To determine what may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, financial, or tax advisor prior to investing. Guests on The Retirement Chef, Whipping Up Wealth are not affiliated with CWM LLC. Investment advisory services offered through CWM LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.